Welcome to Corpstruction, the podcast of the Tulsa District U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. On May 2 through 3, the Fire Protection, Mechanical, Electrical, and Control System Community of Practice is going to be in Tulsa, Oklahoma, working on their annual requirements for continuing education. I currently have with me Dawn and Carney, who is the Chief of Fire Protection, Mechanical, Electrical, and Control System Section at Headquarters USACE, and Tim Paulus. Tim is the Mechanical Engineering Community of Practice Lead. Thank you for joining us for Corpstruction.
Yep.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you.
How are you guys enjoying Tulsa so far?
The weather's been great. Enjoying getting to know the city. We came out here a month early before the meeting so that we can kind of check the space out and try to make sure we can have some good recommendations for the participants when they come in town next month on places to go eat and maybe find a place where we can all get together and socialize. So it's been a really nice visit.
For the most part, do you think Tulsa will be relatively central for most district attendees?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we did this here in Tulsa, because we were trying to do something in the center of the country. The people on the West Coast and East Coast, it limits their travel, so they don't have to travel all the way across the country. So that's one of the reasons why we did it, for a year.
What have you had a chance to experience any of the rest of Tulsa, or have you just been pretty much confined here to the district?
Yeah, not much just yet. We most of us just got in last night, and we went and ate dinner last night, and then we drove around a little bit today during lunch to check out the area. Went down to the Riverside, Jinx area, and just kind of rode around, but we haven't really done much. We're going to go out tonight and look around some more.
Outstanding. There's a lot to see. Hopefully you can catch out, like, say, the Philbrook Museum or something.
Okay.
If you have some downtime at some point. There's some beautiful artwork there.
Bob Dylan. What do you got, 3?
Yep. There's this place has a great folk music,
So,
Well, we'll start off simple. What is a community of practice for people who don't understand that?
Okay. So I'll take that one. Is that it?
go ahead. And
Okay.
I'll fill in the gaps.
Yes, please do. Help me out. All right. So the community of practice is when we try to bring people together that have a common interest. So we focus on the disciplines. We focus on the electrical engineering discipline, mechanical engineering disciplines, control system engineers, and fire protection engineers that are out there across the Corps. And we have leaders for each of those disciplines that provides everybody in those disciplines resources and tools that they need to do their job. We also try to bring them together, like in this meeting here, to network with each other and to share ideas and share lessons learned and best practices with each other. And we also tap into the subject matter experts out there in the field and bring them in to also help when problems arise to our level at headquarters, and they need help in their disciplines if there's something specific. And, we've got those community to reach out to and tap into those resources. Tim?
Yeah. And this is something, like I said earlier, that we've been really pushing hard at headquarters over the last 3-4 years. Really try to engage everybody in all our disciplines. Like during COVID, for example, we've got a lot of new people that came on board during COVID. And you can imagine they're coming on board. I think having these communities of practice like we've done over especially the last 3 years, has made a huge difference. Otherwise they're like lost in the wilderness, so they come on board and I don't have a clue what the Corps of Engineers even does, even to start with, so we really tried to do that over the last, especially like I said, the last 3 years, especially, try to engage the newer engineers, but even the engineers that have been there a while, just to get everybody on the same page. We're like Don said, whether it's training, software, all sorts of things. So we've got our SharePoint sites where we try to share information, if you will. So we do have that. We have SharePoint pages where we can put lessons learned and best practices and that sort of thing. And
and the Corps of Engineers employees who are involved in your COP they're they're not just in maybe civil works, they're
Right.
also in military construction. So
Correct.
you're trying to meet federal sort of building type code standards as far
Yeah.
as like fire protection, electrical wiring,
Yep.
and then mechanical engineering, mechanical systems that you have.
Right.
Yep.
Correct.
Correct.
Yes. So
How do you balance? Well, I guess with federal, it's one broad anyway. It's one broad area anyway. You don't have to worry about like local code so much, or do you?
Yes, so we actually our community practice leaders also are over the criteria for their discipline that is used across the Corps. So we have unified facility criteria that we work with the tri-services. So we work with the Air Force and the Navy, and we're the Army representatives, and we work to develop this criteria that it's standard. It standardizes the way we build things across the Corps, and we also work on the engineering regulations and engineering manuals that give guidance out there on the civil works side. And then where there's gaps in the civil works guidance, then they fall back to the unified facilities codes. So our community practice leaders maintain that for their communities, their disciplines as well.
It's about how many people are you expecting to be here for the?
We're expecting about 100 in person and then maybe 200, 300 online. Our community encompasses about 2,000 people across the Corps. So it just, you don't know, with us having a hybrid and having a virtual component, then anybody can join, a session or two that they find interest in. They don't have to take off like a whole 3 or 4 days of work to come out here in person. So we have that option too.
Yeah, so our mechanical, we have about 950 mechanical engineers across the Corps. So we build these distribution lists where we try to reach out to them. And the same with the electrical engineers. We've got about 830, 840 electrical engineers in the Corps. And again, we build a distribution list so we can reach all of them. And I think fire protection, there's about 75 or so.
Yeah.
And then controls is a rather new one that we've been building over the last
3 or 4
years. And so that's, work in progress, if you will. So like Don said, we're looking at about 2,000 total, which is actually on the small side when you look at the other disciplines, like civil engineers, they're in the Corps, there's a lot more civil engineers than structural engineers. But so when you add us all up, we're about 2,000.
What are control systems? What is that? How is that discipline separate?
So the control systems actually covers those people kind of specialize. You either have a mechanical engineer or an electrical engineer that kind of specializes in controls for like HVAC systems or lighting controls or
Lock controls.
Lock controls. You've got electronic security control systems, things like that. And so that typically is built off of a mechanical or electrical engineer, and they decide to specialize in controls. And so that's been a little harder to figure out who belongs to that community of practice because they aren't delineated by an occupational series like the electrical mechanicals are. Same for the fire protection engineers, actually. They do have an occupational series, but they typically start out as a electrical engineer or a mechanical engineer.
Right.
And so we have to reach out as the community practice leaders and find those people that specialize in those areas and try to bring them into our community.
And I guess with those control systems, are they looking at how is the end user going to use this system? Is that sort of their approach to it?
They're the designers that design the control systems and cybersecurity of those control systems for our buildings, for both military and civil works. Yeah, so they're the ones that usually are typically out there, designing those.
But I think they do have to have a good understanding of the end user, and like on the civil work side, for instance, they have to understand, like the end user, their capability. Are they able to use this thing? Are they able to maintain it? So there has to be some understanding on that level. Correct.
Yeah.
And how does this play into the continuing education requirements, for example, to maintain, like, say, a certification?
Mm-hmm.
How does that?
Like professional licensure?
Right.
So we encourage our engineers out there to get their professional engineering license. And as part of that encouragement, we have put together a program where we have contracts with companies that can provide testing or prep materials
prep
for
materials,
testing.
right,
Thank
yep.
you. And so we provide that for free, basically, to the engineers out there. And we encourage them to get their licenses. And then we also work with the Construction, Engineering, and Infrastructure Career Field Office through ACMA to provide funding and training to help maintain those licenses as well. So we, as the disciplines, we try to go out and we look up training for our communities of practice that they need, such as through NFPA or ASHRAE, or just to help get that training, and then we get it funded through like the Construction Engineering Career Field Office, and provide that training to our communities of practice, and that helps them to maintain their licenses, as well as it helps to fill competency gaps that we have out there in the Corps.
And this whole, like it says, professional training that we've been, offering, that's something we've really been pushing hard again over the last 3-4 years. Like we actually have a contest with the electricals and mechanicals, and if you can get the more, the more engineers registered, for their license. One of the problems though that we have is we've got a lot of people leaving the Corps, and a lot of those, a lot of those people have licenses, professional engineer license.
With them.
They take it with them. But the new people coming in don't. So we just need to at very least stay where we are. So that's been a bit of a challenge, but we're getting there.
So electrical's caught up to mechanical, by the way.
Yes.
So you have this knowledge departure that you have to maintain.
Yes.
What is it? How is that? Why do you think that's so challenging? Like that? Like why do you think? Or is it just that we're in a generational change, perhaps, or
maybe
the workforce, or
in the federal government, we don't push real hard for licensure, I guess, if you will. Like at some of the private firms, like architect engineer firms. I mean, there it's almost a mandate that you pretty much have. It's not so much, in the federal government that we have these mandates that you have. So we have to encourage people. Just let them know that, down the road, you're probably really going to need this to advance, for a lot of these higher level positions. So it's really encouraging our younger engineers to take advantage of these opportunities and try to get licensed. So.
Yeah, it's tough to maintain that turnover. It takes a new engineer a good 5 years before they're really able to get up and running and hit the ground and do their own designs.
Right.
So we have the Department of the Army intern program that takes them through 2 years of training. And then after that, they're just kind of like on their own, and they may get 1 or 2 training sessions a year after that, where we really kind of probably need to keep up, do more training sessions for them. Like I know our training budgets are kind of spread thin at the districts, and they can only take like one 40-hour training class a year. And that's why, as community practice leaders, we try to pick up some other types of little training that won't take a lot of time out of their workload to do this training, as well as fund it for them so that they can do it for free. So that's where we're trying to help fill in these gaps and train people a little faster than they are trained under the normal process.
Yeah, and in this meeting that we're going to do in Tulsa, it's a great opportunity to share information. So I mean, a lot of what we try to do here is, engineers across the Corps are working on various projects, and so it's a great way to actually share knowledge, share information, share knowledge, best practices and that sort of thing. So that's something we really try to push at something like this that we're going to do in May. So.
Can you talk about how often do you do these
the in-person and virtual, so hybrid community practice meetings for the combined community practices of the FMECs, we call it. We do this every 2 years. Okay. So, but the individual discipline community practices, they hold webinars once a month with their communities, and offer training or just time webinars that they can get together and periodically throughout the year.
Yeah. You said that it takes about 5 years for an engineer to really get sort of
trained
up really well so that they can do design. What is the where is the challenge in that? Is it the understanding codes associated with everything, or the federal regulations associated with maybe designing something like a fire control system or mechanical system? Where does that come?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's just the experience, because we do so many different types of designs. We got the military projects and you have civil works projects, and it takes a good couple of years before you've been exposed to quite a bit of different kinds of buildings, facilities, and systems that you're designing before the designer can actually get that experience and get I don't know what the word is. It's just get good at doing those, but types of system designs and stuff. So I think it's just kind of getting the experience in, because we do a lot of they can do a lot of the training up front is about the codes and the criteria. That's what the prospect courses they teach us. They teach the students the unified facilities criteria and the way that we do things with the core process and core ways. So it's just a matter of getting experience.
Are there a certain number of hours that they have to do annually, or if a few years based on core requirements, or
No.
Not based on core requirements, but to maintain their professional engineering license, you have to get like 30 hours of continuing education credits per 2 years. That's what it is for the engineers. For the electrical anyway.
Then a lot of engineers have other licenses or registration, if you will, like LEED, for instance. With the buildings, there's a whole nother licensure requirement for that, and then there's engineers that try to maintain that. So and then the fire protection obviously has their own requirements. So there's other things beside the professional licensure, like the LEED, for example.
What is that? Leadership in engineering efficient design or something, or energy design,
right?
Leadership in engineering energy design,
right?
Okay, yeah. What are there some new things coming out that you're going to have to address?
Emerging technology.
Yeah, that you're going to have to address. Maybe perhaps with like fire protection control systems or fire.
Well, microgrids is one of them.
Right. Yeah. With the new executive orders for energy and sustainability that's coming out, there is some emerging technology that we have identified that we do need to make sure that we need to train up our designers out there to be able to understand a design. Microgrids is one of them.
What is that?
Okay, a microgrid is like a miniature substation for power that can provide. It can connect to the power system, and it could also work on its own as a own utility to provide power to a building. So it can be what they call islanded. So where if there's a cybersecurity attack or something like that on the main power system, they can island themselves and separate and still function. The facilities that provides power for can still function and work, and for emergency situations and things like that. But it also tries to encompass renewable energy systems such as wind and solar, so that it could just operate on its own and generate power and store some of that energy to be used when they can't connect to the grid. Anything else to add to that?
What about in the mechanical world? Is there
a lot of it is, if you're looking on the military construction side, it's a lot related to sustainability. Like Don just alluded to. With the current administration, we're pushing us more toward electrification, getting away from carbon fuels. So that has its own challenges. If you're looking at the civil work side and mechanical, we've got a lot of old stuff, if you will, out there at our locks and dams. So it's trying to figure out, to be able to, accurately predict, when do we actually have to replace this stuff, and how can we replace this stuff, and, how can we afford it? So there's challenges like that. We do have, our labs, and we got ERDIC, down in Vicksburg and Cyril that do a lot of work for us. And we all are, especially on the civil work side, and the military side, we try to work with them directly on a lot of these emerging technologies. So,
do they typically provide a representative to teach or to provide classes?
Nope. not so much that, but every year they got what they called statements of need. So they're looking forward, to what we need, like you said, all these emerging technologies in a lot of different areas that we try to stay involved in. So as our community practice leads, we try to work with Erdic and Cyril to make sure we stay on top of that. Like for example, on the mechanical and the civil work side, one of the things is, like these barges come through a lock, for example. What can we do, to get some of these deckhands so they're not, hands-free technology? So like Erdic right now, they've got like 3 pilot studies going on, if you will. So it's staying involved in things like that. The other thing is remote operations, for instance, at our locks, to stay up to speed on what, all the emerging technologies on that. So
The locks and dams,
yes.
Some of them have that capability.
Not right now, but it's something that's being looked at.
What? Well, I would imagine with locks and dams specifically, probably a good deal. At least at our district, a good deal of those are probably hydropower. So you kind of got one energy need met, right? At least the run of the river facilities. I don't know. Is it like that with the rest of the country?
No.
Really?
No. No.
Is that something that's being considered that, I guess that's a whole different area of civil works projects, but what do you think is most important for the people who attend to get out of it, the event?
So I'd say the most important is making connections with the other people in their community's practice and crossing their disciplines, meeting with the other disciplines, because we all have to work together to make a project work, right? And so I think that's why we like to do the in-person piece, which we know since COVID hasn't had a lot of good attendance, so we expect it to and hope it'll gradually grow back to what it used to be before COVID, where we have more people attending in person so that they can make those connections. And it's just been really good for our community practice just to meet and meet with the other disciplines. And then they also get a lot of good knowledge there that applies to all the disciplines, such as we give them information on, the prospect courses that's available out there. We're going to give them information from the HR side of things as far as what's available to them to help with their careers and to, advance their careers. And then there's going to be some technical specific tracks that they can get some technical knowledge from there too.
What questions have I not asked you that I probably, what's most important that people understand ahead of this event?
I think like Don just alluded to, it's a chance to make connections and network, that's the big thing. And then, share information. And then, I think that's big. And then we're going to do the field trip on Thursday. We're actually going to go to Tinker. Then they're going to see some stuff there. And then we're going to go to, we were going to go to Weber's. We were going to go to Keystone Dam. We're going to go to Weber's Falls instead. So on the civil works side, they have a hydropower site, and the lock and the dam. So we're going to see that. But yeah, it's just a chance to, really network and connect. We need to, with all this remote work that's going on now, it's really good to get people together every once in a while. So
yeah,
in the same place.
Do you feel like you're getting the support from the district in terms of?
Oh yeah.
The district has been great.
Oh, they've been fantastic.
Everybody here has just pitched in. Robert Felice and Eric Slater and their guys are all been very helpful. And they're finding out it's a lot of work. It's a lot of coordination.
We should have told them that at first.
It's like planning a wedding, really. And they're like, the more we get into it, like, yeah, you're right. This is like planning a wedding. We got to make sure we have,
It's too late. It's too late now. We're not going back now.
Yeah, we got to have signage. We got to have all the rooms reserved. We've got to make sure all the right equipment's in each room. That's why we're out here doing a recon visit, we call it. We're checking out the equipment in each room and making sure that our WebEx accounts work, and we're testing it with people virtually
and know where
make sure that works.
Know where we're going, and yep.
Yeah, the rooms are going to be kind of spread out throughout the district, so we've got to make sure we have good signage out and give people good directions.
Yep.
You guys have some security requirements here that we make sure we're going to have to provide information to the attendees to make sure that they follow those rules and that we have them access cards and it's a pretty involved process, and everybody here at Tulsa District has been really good. And you guys have a great space. The auditorium downstairs is really nice to do our plenary sessions where we have everybody together. And then you have some nice conference rooms spread out through the rest of the office area that we're going to use for when we break out into discipline-specific tracks. And the district set up really nicely for us to do this here. We're excited.
How does someone typically end up in one of these more specialized disciplines? Like, is it something that you go to work for the Corps as an engineer and your boss says, okay, I'm going to have you work on this and you're going to go work this, or is it something you typically specifically get hired to do? How does that typically work? Especially, I guess, with the fire protection and the
control system. I know where you're getting with that. Yeah. So I would say, if you start out as a young engineer with the Corps, and then you get involved in projects, and it's like somebody's got to do this control system piece, somebody's got to do the fire alarm piece or the fire suppression system piece, and you tend to kind of step up, and then you figure out, hey, I kind of really like this. This is my favorite part of my job, and maybe I'll specialize in this, and then there are some extra certifications you have to get to be a fire protection engineer. You can't just get a regular professional engineering license. You have to have a fire protection engineering license. So then they would have to go for that. So it is something somebody has to specialize in. But then you have some people that we might hire that are, experienced engineers out in industry that have already decided to specialize in those areas, and we bring them in to design those systems as well.
So when we put the ads out there for specific jobs, we are identifying those, like we're actively hiring for those positions typically for the fire.
Yeah.
It's going to be specific
in the
job announcement.
Yeah, the position description. Mm-hmm.
I guess that was just one of those HR questions and recruiting questions that I always wonder about. Like, is this something that sort of, you start off in one area and you end up in, or do we typically, are we actively recruiting on these positions? Well, is there one area that it's harder to keep people? Is one discipline that's harder to keep people in?
It seems like electrical engineers, we've seen, just from what I've seen, like that seems to be the toughest. Just because there's so much competition out there in private industry for electrical engineering. I mean, there is for everything, but.
And I think there's fewer of the electricals out there, too. I think there's fewer people getting degrees in electrical, so the market's really thin. It's hard to get people, to come work for the Corps. So we're definitely always looking for electricals. There are a lot of the STEM fields are hard to fill positions in the Corps. We have that same problem with all our disciplines pretty much. It's always needing new people in the fire protection, mechanical, electrical, and control system occupancies.
Well, why did you two come to work? Well, I'll start with you, Tim. Why did you decide to come to work for the Corps as a mechanical engineer?
Well, that was like 37 or 31. I don't know how many years ago it was. I guess it's I went to school, for mechanical engineering, and then I actually built houses for a while, if you will. But no, I had the opportunity to interview at the St. Paul district, and it seemed like pretty cool stuff, working on locks and dams, and and then you get a chance to do a lot of different things, and so that's how the short answer is that's how I ended up. And then once you come on board, there's always options to do all sorts of things. The Corps is a big agency, a big organization, and so you just keep looking for other opportunities, and so one thing leads to another.
So there's a big diversity of job opportunities within.
Oh yeah.
So even as a mechanical engineer here, you may.
Oh yeah.
What about you, Don? What was your?
So my father was an electrical engineer with the Corps of Engineers, and we lived over in Germany for 5 years of my childhood, and I just thought, my dad has a great job. We get to live in this great place. He was always off traveling and, getting to see new places and just do a bunch of different things, like different type of projects and stuff. And so I thought the Corps is a great place to work. When I grow up, I want to work at the Corps of Engineers. And I was thinking about being an architect, and my dad said, well, you're really good at math, and we need more electricals. So he kind of pushed me in the direction of electrical. He's like, if I can do it, you can do it. So I did. And I went to work for the Corps at a young age, but then I got caught up in a reduction in force. in '97 and left the Corps for 10 years, and worked for private industry for a while, and an opportunity came back up to go back to the Corps, and I just thought, it's just good stability, good jobs. Like I said, the travel part was great, and and that we just have a really good mission. We're out there, we're helping people, and we help the United States, and we help people all over the world actually, and so I decided to go back to work for the Corps, and then been here ever since. Since 2007, so it's been a really good job.
Did you start with?
Mobile District.
Mobile.
Mm-hmm.
And how long were you with Mobile?
So combined total, because I worked with them as a co-op student, and
Oh, wow.
yeah, so I probably had like 20 years with them combined, and then I went to work for the Galveston District for about a year before I went to work for headquarters, about 3 years ago now. So yeah, it's been great, and I've really thought it was really good to get experience at different districts and different offices for the Corps, because we do different things, and just making connections. And I found everywhere I've worked for the Corps, everybody's just been so dedicated to doing a good job, and it's great to just kind of make these connections at the headquarters level. I can see across the Corps now and see all these people out there that have the same passion to just help people and just to do a good job for our country. It's just been really inspiring.
Tim, have you been were you with the St. Paul district?
Yeah,
Most of your career?
most of the career. So I came on board at headquarters about 3.5 years ago. I did some details. I did I did a detail in Chicago district for a while, helping them with their deep water, their storm sewer project and things like that. So, but yeah, for the most part, and came to headquarters, 3.5 years ago, and I've been here headquarters ever since. But then St. Paul district before that.
Do y'all find it interesting that even various districts have they tend to have more focuses in some areas? Like Galveston has a huge
Civil Works, and
dredging, intracoastal waterway. I take it is one of the things there.
There are districts that have both military construction and civil works, but there's a lot that just focus on civil works, a lot that focus on military. There's some that are both. But yeah, you go across the Corps, there's a wide variety of what these districts do.
St. Paul district,
Civil works.
They have a lot of
Civil works. Civil works. So, yeah. Yep.
Is that controlling a lot of the Mississippi River?
Yep.
And then here in Tulsa,
Arkansas.
It's a lot of recreation. It's a lot of water supply. It's a lot of it's a lot of civil works, and it's a lot of military construction, especially with the Tinker stuff. Well, I really appreciate you all taking the time.
Thank you.
I know you've probably been traveling and you're probably ready to go get a rest, but I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me so that we can highlight what's coming up. And I really hope you enjoy your time here and that you get to really experience some more of Tulsa and the area.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you.
We're looking forward to coming back in May, and hope to have a lot of you guys out there to join us and enjoy Tulsa with us.
Yeah. Certainly, we'll see you around.
Yeah.
We'll stop down on Tuesday morning, and we'll.
Yeah, one of us will probably be with you. To Web.
Yes.
So that's an interesting dam. It's that was it tilt? Is it tilt axis dam? So you've got as opposed to the vertical.
Okay.
Okay.
Interesting dam.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you again for your time.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for Corpstruction. Corpstruction is a production of the Tulsa District U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Public Affairs Office. This episode of Corpstruction was brought to you by Fire Protection Mechanical, Electrical, and Control System Section of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.